Welcome to the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon video series. Today, our video is must have boat gear. I am your host, Captain Matt, and we've given you all of the insights on buying the right boat at the best price, how to test drive a boat. We've offered you the toolkit, which you can get for free at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com. You can get a free downloadable PDF. Now, we wanted to share with you some of the must have boat gear that you have to have for legal requirements and gear that you may want to have, and also give you some insights and some pro tips on what's the good stuff, what's the cheap stuff that you're going to have to replace anyway, what's the right stuff, especially when it comes to anchors, towables, and we're going to dive into all of that detail. Give you some links down in the notes below, so you can go right on and continue your research and find what you like the best with some very helpful advice. So let's look at the legal requirements. Then this is every state has a few different requirements. This is from the U.S. Coast Guard, 16 foot to 26 foot. This also goes from 26 and above. Under 16, there are a little bit different requirements, but this is going to cover most of the people that are consuming this video series and watching our channel. The first one is a U.S. Coast Guard approved throw cushion. These throw cushions range from $15 to $25. I like the square kind, like is shown up in the top left, that blue square cushion. They also have a ring device, which you'll typically see on larger vessels. I don't think they work as well on most pontoons, deck boats, bow riders. On some sailboats, you'll see the round rings because they're somewhat decorative. But this is something that if somebody falls overboard, you want to have it at the ready to be able to throw to them. I like to set them on a seat and just use them as an extra cushion, or have them tucked down in the side where they're easily accessible. The second is a life vest, a Coast Guard approved life vest for everybody on the boat. Typically, anyone age 12 and under have to be wearing their life vest while the boat is underway. My recommendation to you, they're anywhere from $15 to the orange over the neck life vests, which are fine if you need extras on board. If you have a lot of guests, that will cover you for those times. But good fitted. I like the neoprene, which is this O'Brien one that's shown. I like the neoprene because they're very comfortable. They fit really well. And especially for kids, get them one that they're going to like, so that they'll be okay wearing it. I like doing the water sports and the neoprene ones. I just think they're really comfortable, and that's the ones that I have. You can typically get a nice adult neoprene vest for $80 to $100. A kid's vest, I think for my daughters, we paid $20 or $30 for them, and they love them. Again, there'll be links down in the show notes where you can check out some of the different options. The next is a fully charged marine fire extinguisher. Fully charged, you'll see, if you can see on depending on how big your screen is, at the very top of that round gauge, you'll see a green section. That green section means that it's fully charged and it's ready to be operational. Just pull the pin, squeeze the trigger, and you have your fire extinguisher. They range from $20 to $50 depending on the size. If you have a cabin boat, you need one in the cockpit, one in the cabin. Now, pay attention to make sure that yours is charged up. My brother actually had an incident where he had a small fire on the boat, just a 26-foot crown line. He pulled out his fire extinguisher, went to discharge it, and it just kind of dribbled out because he had never changed it in the years that he owned that boat. Fortunately, it was just a little issue. Everybody jumped off the boat into the water, but it was one of those issues that, for less than $50, you could have avoided that altogether. So have a good charged fire extinguisher every year. Make sure you check that gauge and make sure that you're in the green. Next is you need a sound making device. Now, my recommendation is to go out and buy a whistle. A simple whistle. The one I use for coaching my daughter's basketball team, I think costs $6 or $7. If you want a 3-pack of them, those were $25 on Amazon. A whistle is always going to work. Your horn may go out at some point. The air horns are nice and loud, but guess what? The kids are going to mess with them. Eventually, they're going to decompress and they're going to go out as well. So have a whistle, throw it in the glove box, throw it in a compartment, and you always are covered on that sound making device. The next is a navigational and anchor light. The nav lights are the red green lights that are in front. Most boats 16 to 26 and above are going to have these built in. If your lights are out, they're not operational, get those fixed right away because you need them not just when it's dark, but from dusk, an hour before sundown to an hour after sun up is when you need them according to the regulations. And an anchor light, which is the white light mounted at a high spot on the back of the boat so it can be seen from 360 degrees around. Actually, it's from 180 degrees around. These are detachable. You typically don't need to carry these with you, but have replacement light bulbs. If you know you're going to be boating in the evening, make sure that you check your lights before you go out. Next is a kill switch. A kill switch is something that you can hook to yourself. It's a lanyard. You hook to your life vest or you hook to your shorts. So if you fall down as the operator of the boat, it pulls that and it pulls the kill switch out, which then shuts the engine down. Your boat's required to have it. In some states, like Texas, you're required to wear it. Not all states are like that, but you do need to have that and it needs to be operational. And then finally, if you're operating on the coast, you need an emergency flare kit. You've got to have good unexpired flares on the vessel, anywhere from $25 from the sticks that you can get up to $100 for this gun setup with the cartridges. But you need to have that when you're operating in the coastal environment. So those are the legal requirements. And again, you can check the links down below. It'll take you to some different options and you can choose what's right for you. Next are some other necessities. I'm going to say you don't legally have to have these, but I'm going to recommend you get them. The first one is a first aid kit. To me, it's no reason not to spend $20 or $25 to get a great first aid kit in a waterproof bag like the one that you're shown here. Next is a Leatherman, some sort of Leatherman tool, multi-purpose tool that's going to have some pliers and that's going to have a knife on it. If you get a rope stuck around the prop, you get some ropes tied up and you got to cut them, you're ready. If you have to tighten a bolt or grab something, you've got the pliers. That it's amazing how often it comes in handy to just have that tool, a little screwdriver, to tighten something up. It's amazing how often that comes in handy and you need it. And for 20 or 50 bucks, depending on how extravagant you get, but make sure you have a good knife and the pliers and a screwdriver and maybe a bottle opener. If you don't have one on the boat, you're always going to be covered. Money well spent. If you're operating on the coast or large bodies of water, on the left you'll see the orange and red VHF radio. That's a portable radio. It's rechargeable. It'll allow you to call out on channel 16 or any call number anytime that you're in line of sight, basically. So you can get to another boat, to maybe somebody on shore, to the Coast Guard, to CETO or Boat US, and you can get some help if you need it if an emergency arises. You can get to the shore patrol, whoever you need to. But if you have that, I think it's a great option, especially in the coastal environment, especially if you're operating on a larger body of water, the Great Lakes, the Lake of the Ozarks, anywhere that you may get stranded and not have easy access to somebody. And then a pair of binoculars, just to have the ability to see where things are at, especially if you're operating at the coast, spotting the cans and the nuns. It's going to be useful for you to have those and spot at times. And plus, they're just fun. The kids can see some wildlife. You can check out other boats that are coming up on you, and I think they're always a good option to have on any boat. Again, in the show notes, you can see some links that will take you to some of the best of these options. Anchors. I'm going to do a complete video on anchors, I think, because I see so many issues with people trying to anchor, and the biggest problem is they either have the wrong anchor or they have the wrong anchor setup. So I'm going to tell you, if you're operating a boat from 18 plus feet up until you have your own windlass that has the appropriate anchor on it, on maybe a 30, 40-foot boat, you start having windlasses. I'm going to recommend you have a spool of rope, of rode, if you want to be the official term. But 100 feet, depending on the depths of the water that you boat in, 100 feet may be sufficient. Maybe you need more than that, depending on where you anchor out. But I think 100 feet is a good place to start for most boaters. And then you want a length of about 5 foot of good heavy chain, galvanized is going to be best. It's not going to rust. And then in most boating conditions in freshwater, in lakes specifically, the Danforth anchor, which is the one that you see attached to the road in the chain, that's a Danforth anchor. They're very versatile. They're gonna you just drop them in, and then you give it a little bit of reverse, and those little forks are gonna dig right into the bottom, whether it's sand, whether it's mud. It's gonna dig right in. The chain is gonna keep the shaft of the anchor down, so that as the boat bounces up and down, the waves are taking the road up and down, that it's lifting the chain first and it's not pulling that anchor out of the bottom. And then you use a sufficient amount of rope, which is anywhere from 5 to 7 times the depth of the water. So if you want your boat to stick and not move anywhere, if you're in 10 foot of water, use 50 to 70 feet of road, and that's going to keep you anchored in any condition. And it's going to be very, very stable. The other anchors that are out there is the Navy anchor. You can see it looks in the middle, top row. I should have numbered these. It looks very much like a Danforth without the sharp points. Again, that gives you a little bit extra weight. It's a little bit smaller, compact if you don't have as much room. Those work reasonably well on a mud and a sand bottom. But again, you want that chain, and you want a lot of length of the rope of the road. Then you've got the mop horn, which is typically going to be on a windlass. That's going to be the type of anchor that you're going to have on a windlass. And if it's set up, that's going to dig right into the mud or the sand bottom. Then you've got the mop horn delta is that one. Then you've got the box anchor. The box anchor is going to be your offshore anchor to dig in. That's where you're going to get the best use there. The mushroom anchor. To me, the mushroom anchor is useless to hold your boat. It's fine if you're going to use it as the second anchor off the back if you're anchoring at a sandbar. But if you want that to hold a 25-foot pontoon or even a 20-foot pontoon, it's just not going to do the trick in most situations. Maybe on a sandy bottom, you're going to have some luck with a smaller boat, but there's really nothing to dig in. And you're gonna drag. It's just gonna drag right across the bottom of most bodies of water. And then the river anchor. It looks like a mushroom that's cut into three kind of grappling hooks. That's called a river anchor, and it'll work in that current. Those little hooks will kind of dig in and drag across the bottom. Again, you want to use the same setup, but I like the Danforth or the Navy anchor in a majority of setups. Not all. The Mophorn Delta, when you get into those windlass boats, that's going to be the setup you have. And the $70 to $225 will get you a great setup. The one shown with a 10-pound Danforth with the chain and the 100-foot of road, I think was $75 or $80. And that setup is going to be great for your pontoons, your deck boats, your bow riders, a lot of your cruisers up to about 24, 26 feet, cuddy cabins. It's going to be a good setup for all of those. So we'll go into more detail and I'll give you more specifics on the anchoring and how to anchor in a future video, but this will give you the information to help you select the right one. And again, there's links in the section below. Fenders. Fenders are, in my mind, a necessity to keep your boat in good condition. Now, I like the ones that I'm showing you. They're a good rubber, collapsible, soft. They're not really hard. They're the G3 and the G5 are the two most common types that you're going to use. A G3 is going to work up to a 22, maybe a 24-foot boat. The G5, as you get into the 26 feet and above, is going to be where you want to go. The G series of I think it's Pro Polythome. I don't know who the manufacturer is. There'll be a link down below. But those are I think the best fenders out there. The HTM, which is the black one in the middle, it's hole through the middle and then the same size, 3-inch diameter. Um, that's going to be great for your bigger cruisers. You can put the hole through, tie it off, and they work well in that setup. The other ones that are okay if you are they don't give you quite as much protection, but they're a little bit more versatile about how you can attach them. Are the hinged fenders? They've got a nylon coating and just foam inside, and those can be good for some different center consoles, for some boats that have a little bit different profile than a traditional pontoon or deck boat or bow rider. Some of the center consoles, some of the bay boats is there. But you're going to want to get the right size for your boat, and you want to get the right material. And again, I like that rubber because it's durable. It's soft and it'll collapse if the boats hit together. So there's some give, and it makes it really easy tied up to a dock or to another boat if you're rafting up. Dock lines. Dock lines is something that I'm going to recommend for most people the double braided nylon. I like it. It stays together. You don't have the fraying as much. You don't have to worry about the end coming undone, and the twisted nylon will kind of untwist if you have to cut it or if the seal comes undone. So the double braided nylon is my recommendation. The size is going to depend on the size of your boat and the size of your cleats. So typically a 3/8 is going to be sufficient for most boats up to about 26 feet. The length, depending on how you're using your dock lines, if you're just tying up at your home dock, maybe going to a restaurant, maybe tying up a 15-foot section is going to be more than enough. If you do rafting up in big groups, or you're going through locks, you may want to get a length that is almost the length of the boat. It's going to allow you to be more flexible in untying a middle boat, letting them go, and still maintain connection. But sometimes those get a little bit unwieldy in typical situations where you only need, 3 feet to tie off, really, and you can have just way too much dock line to work with. So a 15 footer is going to be acceptable for most situations. As you get into the bigger boats, 30, 40 feet, you may want to move up to the half inch. So you got the size, the diameter of the line, and you have the length of the line. And I'm going to recommend to you the double braided nylon. It looks great. You can get it color matched to your boat in most situations: white, black, blue, tan. They make all sorts of different colors. You can even custom order orange and whatever you want. So those are great options. But think about those things as you're selecting your dock line. And I'm also going to recommend you get 6 dock lines. You get 4 for typical use. In some situations, if you need a spring line to tie off on the middle cleat on your boats that are 22, 24, 26 feet and above, sometimes you'll need that spring line to get tied up in a good situation. Also, having 6, if you do lose one, if one gets torn up, gets lost, gets left on a dock, you've got extra, and you're never left in a situation where you can't tie your boat up properly. For 15 or 20 bucks, I think it's money well spent to have a few extra dock lines on the boat. Towables. So I've got little girls that are right now are 6 and 8. Their favorite towable is the Big Mabel. Or actually, the Super Mabel is the one we have. They've got a Big Mabel, which is a two-seater, Super Mabel, which is a three-seater, and a Giant Mabel, which is a four-seater. They're huge, but what I like about them is my girls love them, but they're super stable for young kids. They're about ready to kind of outgrow my 8-year-old. Is going to outgrow it pretty soon, where she's going to want a little bit more adventure. But you can get some speed, you can sling it around a little bit. But if you put a 2-year-old on there with an adult, they're perfectly safe. I have yet to tip it over, even towing my in-laws that are I'm a little bit more aggressive. It's a super stable platform, great for kids. The hot dog down in the bottom left, it's a little bit different experience. You kind of ride it like a horse, you saddle on. It's fun for extra people. It's good for younger kids, gives them a little bit more excitement. And you can get them, this is a three-seater, but you can also get them longer than that. Um, if you're doing towables, well, let's go to the top right. The top right is your typical tube. That's a two-seater, or a two-person. The sport stuff, the American flag. I think that's a cool one. But you're gonna lay on that. You can go single person, double people, and this one you can whip them around a little bit more. It will throw them off if you're looking for a little bit more excitement. The kids are a little bit older, 10 years old plus, and they want a little bit more fun. That set of a disc tube, I think, is a fun way to go as you get a little bit older. And then down to the bottom right, that's a SUP board. It's a stand-up board that it's kind of the first step to skiing or wakeboarding or even surfing, but it can also be ridden as a sled. It's a great training tool, get kids comfortable getting in that situation where they're holding onto a rope and they're being towed. Um, it's a good setup that's easy, it's safe, it's fun, and if your kids are going to get into water sports, it can be a great stepping stone before you get the skis, before you get the wakeboard, or before you get the surfboard, just to get them comfortable. Now, if you're doing the towable, I really like in the middle that towable booster. It's a ball. There's several different manufacturers that make them. There'll be links down below in the notes. But what you do is you hook one end to the boat, you hook the other end to the tube, and instead of your line getting caught up in the wash of your wake, and then the towable can't go back and forth, it splashes up in the kid's face, and gets everybody all upset. Does in my kid's case anyway. This allows that to just float right on top. It bounces, and it allows you to get more control of maneuvering the towable in whatever situation. And then having a nice thick towable line that you can attach. It's good, it's heavy duty, it's not going to break while you're underway in any condition, and it's really easier to handle because it's thicker. Now, I'm going to do a quick public service announcement because this is one of the things that is just critical for me. If you're going to be operating towables with your kids, stay far away from any docks, any obstructions, any other boats. It's too easy. You've got to remember that they can't control it on any of these devices except for maybe older person on the tube. They don't have a lot of control of where they're going. When you're turning, they can swing out wide, and you want to make sure that you're nowhere near the shore, a dock, another boat, any other obstruction, a buoy, anything that they could run into, because it's something that it has happened. It does happen. I know of a personal situation, so that's my suggestion to you, or that's my little advice to you. Be careful, pay attention when you're towing people, especially young kids. You're responsible for them. Do your best to keep them safe, and it doesn't take much. Just stay out in the open, and pay attention that you don't have, it's not too busy that if they fall off, make sure you teach them to stand up or get their arms up and wave, and let people see them. Okay, cleaning supplies. Couple things about cleaning supplies. There's different types that we're going to talk about, but you'll want to have a couple of things. You want to always wash your boat with a soft bristle brush, or a soft sponge. Nothing abrasive, nothing that's going to scratch that shiny gel coat. Um, you can use a magic eraser or something with a little bit more abrasion on small spots, but be very sparingly using that. If you need a handle for your brush to get underneath, if you're in the water, or just makes it easier to get under the boat in different spots, the brush with the handle is a great option. Or just a bucket with a wash mitt is perfectly acceptable. I'm going to recommend you use a marine grade cleaner. Things like Dawn dishwashing detergent, some of the car soaps that may be a little bit less expensive are a little bit more abrasive. That gel coat is going to dull up really easy. So you want to use the right material, whether it's Starbright, McGuire's, hot sauce, or boat juice. Those are four really good ones. I like the McGuire's wax. I think if you're waxing your boat, McGuire's wax is hard to beat. If you're cleaning the interior, hot sauce, boat juice, Starbright all do a really good job. And they all have various cleaners. Make sure when you're cleaning your boat, you don't use on the upholstery specifically, you don't use anything with alcohol. Uh, Armor All. Armor All has alcohol in it, and it will dry out your vinyl, and it'll make it crack prematurely. So be sure that you're using a marine grade product, like one of these listed, and you can avoid those cracks and the wear and tear, by using the right stuff. And then these are just some fun accessories. They're bigger, more expensive accessories. The one on the left is called a lily pad, is one of the manufacturers that make it. It is a big, giant pad, just a foam. It's kind of like a floating carpet. And I'll tell you, the kids love it. It's one of my favorite things for my daughters to get on. As adults, you can hop up there. You're a little bit wet. You're a little bit out of the water. They're easy to just get up and lay on. And they are a lot of fun for a lot of different situations, whether it's laying out, whether it's kids jumping around being crazy, whether it's adults just sitting around it, drinking, telling stories. Those lily pads are a blast. They roll up into you can roll them up and you can attach them to most boats fairly easily. But they're great around the docks. They're great on the water. They're anywhere from a couple $100 to $1,000, depending on how big and the level of quality that you get. I'm going to link to the lily pad one down in the comments, because that's the one we have, and we've had great success with the durability of it. The other lily pad is this diving board, which you can mount on pontoons, you can mount on the front of deck boats. You've got to have a big enough mounting surface, but it is a blast. It gives you a diving board on the water off your boat, and it's a lot of fun. It's about $1,200 for the unit, but they are a great time. So I wanted to share that with you as well. And then a couple books. If you're new to boating, you can check out Chapman's Piloting, Seamanship and Small Boat Handling. It is the Bible of boat handling. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary also has their boat skills and seamanship. I've taken that course. I have the Chapman's book. They're very similar. You just need one or the other, whichever one you prefer. But those are books that if you're a boater, you should probably have one of them, and you'll be very happy. You'll learn a lot, whether you're operating on the coast or in the inland waterways. That's the gear. Of course, if you haven't bought your boat yet, you need to get your hands on a copy of the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon Toolkit. I hear from people all the time about how valuable this is. As I'm recording it, there's a lot of boat shows going around the country right now, and I've gotten tons of emails lately from people saying, "Hey, I've got my toolkit ready to go. I'm going to the boat show. If I find the right one, I'm going to make a purchase." Some of them have also taken advantage of our magic money saving formula, which is a little negotiation skills that we give you. If you check out the toolkit, you'll get more information on there. But just go to boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/toolkit and you can grab that. As always, if you found this information helpful, subscribe. We're going to be adding more and more videos like this that has information, insights, more than just boat buying stuff. But you can subscribe, click that button, and then here's a couple videos that YouTube has recommended for you. And again, boatbuyerssecretweapon.com toolkit. Thank you for watching, and remember, life truly is better on a boat.